May 10th order. Please stand for the pledge of the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ducks.
Here.
Newmont.
Here.
Jeremy.
Here.
Kuznicki. Here. McNutt.
Here.
Nedrow.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Okay, additions to business. We had a couple correspondence letters. One was regarding some Airbnb issue, so I wanted to add that to the agenda if we could. Is there anything else?
I don't know if you want to have some discussion about the correspondence we received about parking on Ventura or not.
Could we do that? Mr. Powell's up here. So let's put Airbnb, if we could, to post F, between F and G. If that works. Anything else?
Item 10B, the Onwards and Upwards 2023 Scholarship Award. Monique McGee let me know today that she had heard from the scholarship winner. He is homesick today. He's not able to be here, so if we could hold that over until our June meeting.
Okay. Anything else?
And then item 10C under Mr. Powell's recommendations, if we could add two pay recommendations, one for Apex Brick and Landscape for some work that they did over on Marchar in regards to the water main extension. The second is for H.G. Sartor for some repavement work that they did, cleanup work, correctional work that they did over on Wolverine Drive. And you have copies of both of the letters from Mr. Powell at the table in front.
Okay, so we can make those C1 and 2?
Yes, please.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion by Dumont.
Do we have to receive them first?
Huh?
Do we have to receive them first?
No, we're good.
Second.
Second by Duff. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now's correspondence. So now we can receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're at first call of the public. It's an opportunity for citizens to address council on agenda items only. One caveat tonight, if they're going to be here for chickens, we are only going to be appointing a subcommittee tonight. We're not going to really have any discussion. So it's really for appointments only. If you want to speak on appointments, that's fine. Otherwise, there's going to be public hearings held for discussions for those subcommittee meetings. So those will all be public. So seeing that, anybody like to speak? State your name, address.
Christy Nedrow, 515 Laguna Court. I want to thank the council for considering me to be on the chicken subcommittee. I think I would be of value to this, as I was on ZBA for about 15, 16 years, somewhere in there. I do understand lot sizes and setbacks and how it affects neighbors and the neighborhood in general. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Ma'am?
Hi, I'm not speaking about the chickens.
That's fine.
I represent the group that wrote the letter about the Airbnb
Okay.
in our neighborhood. And so we, appreciate that you accepted the correspondence and put it on the agenda. And we just wanted to follow up our letter.
Will you give your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Kathy Corellis, 2533 Marshar Drive. My neighbor and I are here representing, I think there were 6 other neighbors that signed the letter, and we just wanted to bring to the attention of the council that there is an Airbnb that started operating in our neighborhood last fall. It is next door to me, so I would say I, along with the neighbor on the other side, are probably suffering the greatest impact, but it really is changing the entire fabric of the neighborhood. It's a very peaceful, quiet neighborhood. We all know each other, we all care about each other, and it just has introduced kind of a transient element. A lot of strangers. The rentals go by room, and so at any time there's up to 6 people there with 3 dogs. So it's apart from even the nuisance of added noise and things, it's just our sense of safety and security is shaken, and it just doesn't feel like the Marchard that used to be. It's just a lot more traffic, and we just felt like we haven't even experienced a summer yet. So we are hoping that the council will consider looking at an ordinance that, obviously we'd like to ban them, but we're not even thinking that that's possible. But if they could at least be regulated. The owner is not on site for the majority of the time. She's probably here about maybe 8 days out of the month, and so we really don't even have recourse. She'll say no parties, no smoking, but no one is there to kind of supervise, and we've been told call the police. Well, we really hesitate to do that because the police have really more important things to do than watch the people that are in the Airbnb, but that's a concern because she's not on site either, so we have problems kind of getting her even knowing what's going on. So we thank the council, and we hope you will consider our request.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else for first call? Seeing none? Guess we'll move on to consideration of consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Dumont. Any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Dumont.
Yes.
Guzekowski.
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Next up is board appointments. A recommendation to council to appoint Aaron Newman to the ZBA as an alternate for a term expiring 12/31/24.
Mr. Newman is here if anybody would like to
Okay.
speak with him or has any questions.
Second it. Motion.
Motion by Dumont, second by Mr. Duff.
Think he'll be a great asset to the board.
Good. Anybody else? That's good. Okay, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Guzekowski.
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes,
O'Brien.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
thank you. All we need to do is swear him in, I think, right?
Mr. Newman, if I get you to step over to the podium there. Stepping up. Just got a short open. You're good to go. I'm going to show you the training. So if you could please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform
and I will faithfully perform
the duties of
the duties of
the office of
the office of
Zoning Board of Appeals
Zoning Board of Appeals
in and for
and for
the Village of Wolverine Lake,
the Village of Wolverine Lake,
County of Oakland,
the County of Oakland,
and State of Michigan,
State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. All right, we'll get you to sign your life away. And that line right there, please. Yeah.
All right. There's that.
And then, this is all for you. This is a copy of the zoning ordinance, a copy of the ordinance that created the Zoning Board of Appeals, and then a handbook that we got from the Michigan Association of Planning, a little bit of background and some information about some other laws that apply. With all your free time.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And your first meeting is going to be later this month.
Yep, so next week.
Yeah, so we've got you on the email list, so we'll be sending you the agenda by email along with everybody.
Okay.
And actually, it'd be really good if you could go to like a ZBA training course.
Yeah.
They're offered through MML, and so
Yeah,
they're pretty informative, and it's a pretty good program to be able to give you some insight on how to.
I will take any resources. Have clerks, they got my email or in contact, have them
Great.
forward to me, and we'll.
Super. Well,
stand
thanks for
for it.
stepping up.
Thank you, Council. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. With that, the next one on the list, Chief will handle, I guess. It's our Valor Award to Officer Jessica Keller.
Good evening, council, citizens. Tonight's very special. We get to honor one of our own for some heroic efforts. This being, it's starting off National Police Week, and we wanted to take the time to recognize one of our own. In the early morning hours of September 11th, 2022, Officer Jessica Keller of the Wolverine Lake Police Department was dispatched to assist Walled Lake officers who was responding to a shots fired call at a residence on Glenwood in the city of Walled Lake. While in the area, she heard a shots fired call over the radio from officers on the scene. Upon arriving at the residence, she observed a deputy removing one firearm from a fatally wounded subject in the front yard, and Officer Keller was advised that there was a possibility of another armed suspect in the home. At the same time, Officer Keller observed a wounded victim in the doorway of the residence attempting to crawl out of the home. Knowing that there was a possible gunman in the house, Officer Keller quickly retrieved her patrol vehicle and drove onto the front yard to the front door of the residence, using the vehicle as a shield. Upon approaching the doorway, she observed a severely wounded victim bleeding from the gunshot wounds to her back. She quickly loaded the victim into the back of her patrol vehicle and transported her to an awaiting ambulance. Based on the quick actions taken by placing herself in harm's way, Officer Keller helped to lessen the tragedy of that night. The victim did survive her attack. This type of quick action, dedication, and disregard for danger reflects greatly upon the Officer Keller, the Wolverine Lake Police Department, and the law enforcement profession. It is my great honor to award Officer Jessica Keller with the Wolverine Lake Police Department's highest award, the Valor Citations, for her action that day.
Yeah, got it.
And then with this is the write-up, as well as the request, and the red ribbon. Thank you very much. Congratulations. While we have her up here, why don't you introduce your family and friends that are here today?
Okay. My husband, Matt, is over here. He just got off work. So. And then my parents, John and Joan. Our 4 kids. Peyton, Blake, he's turning 11 tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Raven, he's starting to drive, so I and our little guy, Bryce, we call him the Prince. And then the whole crew is here, which is awesome. We have 2 new babies with the family. So Brett and his wife had a baby, and Kristen and her husband, Spencer, had a baby, and it's pretty neat. Our family's grown.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta get Brett back here, right?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Congrats.
Thank you very much.
Great job. Chief? So we're on to Mr. Powell. That's a hard act to follow.
Thank you, Council. There are 2 items. Thank you for adding these to the agenda. The work continues in the village, and these are 2 of the latest issues that have come up. As you know, the westerly side of Marchar was disturbed when a water main was put in. We had to wait till spring in order to restore it. The two of the 3 impacted homeowners are here tonight, and I've had an opportunity to talk to them about it. They were out. They were out directing traffic and directing the contractor how to green side up, how to lay sod, put it that way. We believe the contractor did a very, very good job, and because they jumped on it, we're recommending that the village pay them sooner than next month. So I thank you for putting this on the agenda. I am asking that 10% be withheld from their invoice, just to make sure that the sod does take and that it was set properly and obtained properly. So we're asking for a 10% reduction in the payment. So we're asking for, I apologize, $3,285 be paid to Apex Brick and Landscaping, and then next month I'll have another recommendation, hopefully, to pay the balance.
So moved.
Ty.
There you go.
We'll give it to Dumont. Second by Duff. Any discussion on that?
That was a unique situation with people that really care about their properties, and thank you for working with them.
Yes.
With that, roll call vote, please.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Kuznecki.
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Okay, and then secondly?
Second item is a continuation of the paving program in the southern part of the village. Wolverine Drive, there was an issue of some drainage that needed to have some repairs done last fall. The contractor unfortunately had to put down pavement in a very cold condition, and it did not adhere to the existing pavement very well. So we do have a requirement that the pavement be guaranteed for at least a year. They knew they had to come back in, take it all out again, and put it back in again. I was there late yesterday watching them put it back in 2 lifts. They actually milled out 2.5 inches of old pavement, put new pavement in. Went by there today, took pictures and did some measurements. It's going to do a very good job. They did an excellent job, and therefore I'm asking the council to reward them by paying them or authorizing the payment for the balance of the amount that we withheld last year because they got right in there this spring and did an excellent job. So I'm asking for a payment to be paid to H.G. Sarter in the amount of $2,384.40 from the road paving program. It's a major road fund, road paving from last year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont this time. Any discussion on that?
That, you said you watched them mill it out and then
I did.
replace it. That was a patch job that was done when it was so cold that it didn't have a chance, the asphalt didn't have a chance to hold up to the weather.
That is correct.
So it just fell apart immediately.
That is correct.
When you said they milled it out, did they mill it out beyond whatever that thin layer was? Did they mill it out deeper than
They
that
milled out
was
an inch and a
thick?
half further than what the patch actually was put in last year. So they milled out enough to be able to do it in 2 lifts instead of 1 lift, which is exactly what I directed them to do.
You're comfortable it's not falling out?
They did a very good job, and it should last the life of the rest of the pavement. They used the same type pavement that went in on the major roadway. Yes.
Anything else? Okay, roll call vote on that, please, Tammy.
McNutt,
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Kuznecki.
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes. Okay, and then before you, anything else before you?
No, and except that I can answer any questions on the next agenda item. if you
Yeah,
want.
well, if you could also talk, about the
Ventura issue?
Ventura issue,
Yes.
yeah.
This is a very, very discouraging situation in that a homeowner on the end of Ventura, the north end of Ventura, is looking for a modern road design in a subdivision that was built 50, 60 years ago, before the modern standards were adopted. So in his mind, he's reviewing the new State of Michigan MDOT Oakland County standards for design of road ending, and the existing property lines and the area of the road don't allow that design. As most of you probably have been down Apple Orchard, McIntosh, and that area, there's the right way to end a new dead-end road is with a big, large cul-de-sac with a 60-foot radius. So there's a saying in our industry, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. If in fact this council wanted that road to be put in to today's standards, we would be condemning the front yards of all of those properties at the end of that roadway in order to create a cul-de-sac of 60-foot diameter to allow for cars to, and emergency vehicles to turn around at the end of it. So that pavement would go within about 10 feet of their homes at the end of that roadway. So his complaints, the homeowner's complaints, would be even worse if in fact council were to do that. The paving of Ventura was done within the rights-of-way, within the property lines of the end of Ventura, and it's really paved from property line to property line, all the way to the extent of that it's now a T-turnaround, which is the way that subdivision was designed, and the dimensions of even that T-turnaround don't even meet the new current requirements by the fire department. And therefore, we're trying to do the very best the village can in the area allotted in the road right-of-way. This was done way before any of you were around, and way before, quite frankly, I was the village engineer. So back in the 40s, the council approved that roadway the way it shows up right now, but there's no way that it can be done to the standards that the homeowner wants. His biggest concern is that there are people that park in the road right-of-way, like they do everywhere in the village, and it doesn't allow for full access of that entire area at the end of the north end of Ventura. So the administrator and the village attorney have been working with this man for 10, 15 years, and our files are very, very thick. But it is unfortunate that we are bound by the parameters of reality.
Well, we did some striping up there, we put some signs up, right?
That's correct. We paved the roadway, we put some signs up, we striped to prevent parking in key areas, to make sure that we always have the ability to turn emergency vehicles around in there, and unfortunately, the homeowner is still not happy.
I know we've had some police calls up there, haven't we, Chief?
Actually, we had...
Want to use your mic, Chief?
Actually, the only police calls we've received up there came, I believe it was May 20-something of last year. That's the only calls we've had. And that was, there was a graduation party going on, and there were a bunch of teenagers coming into the neighborhood, and they didn't realize they couldn't park there. Our officers responded, and they did move. Now, there were a couple other ones that were, we felt unfounded. People parked in their driveways, but again, if it was in the village road right-of-way, or where their bumper hung out, it was called in as a vehicle blocking the roadway. And it wasn't, and we didn't feel it was even enough to issue a citation or even talk to them at that time. So, but May 22nd, I believe, of last year was the last time we actually got a complaint. Prior to that, there were other complaints, but they were not substantiated, so they were not.
Well, I know we received in the email letter, we received some pictures, and it looks like there's maybe some issues with his neighbor or something, so that's not something that we can handle at the village. I mean, that's something that he'd have to deal with himself, so.
I'll leave it at that.
In many of the conversations that I've had with this individual, I've stressed to him that if there is a problem there, that he does need to contact the police department, because the police department will respond. But he chooses not to contact the police department. Instead, he chooses to document his issues and then send emails to all of you, letting you know about the problems after the fact.
Really, there's nothing that we can do as a village then.
As council knows, there are a great number of roadways in the village that don't have the modern rights-of-ways and the modern width of pavement and things like that. If council decided to stop all parking in those areas, people would not have any place to park their cars.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's too bad that there can't just be some peace at the end of that roadway.
Well, I don't believe we've received any phone calls from any of the other neighbors up there, have we?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, at this point, I don't see anything that we can do. So, I guess we'll We'll end discussion on it, and we'll see what happens on emails down the road, I guess.
If he contacts the police department with complaints?
We would be more than happy to take them.
Yep. Okay. Enough said, I think.
Thank you,
Anything else,
Counsel.
Mr. Powell?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on. Back to the chief.
Yeah.
Can I go up there?
I think it's funny. They don't necessarily want that.
Good evening, council. I am requesting the approval to place no parking at any time signs on Wabasso between South Commerce and Shanken Drive. This was brought to our attention because of a current incident, but after reviewing it, we realized that it probably should have been no parking through there all along. Part of that is because it's considered a major road, and it is entirely no trespassing through there. I've had conversations even with the...
No passing?
There's no passing.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, no passing signs through there. No, the entire street is a no passing zone. And I don't know whether it's due to the hill or due to the limited sight distance or the closeness to the, I mean,
It's a pretty thin street.
it's a pretty, well, the thing of it is if there's no passing, you can't necessarily park along the shoulder road and expect people to pass, and that's what it comes down to. I did reach out to the Wall Lake Schools Transportation Department and talk to them regarding bus pickup on that, and they have to use their stop signs and red lights on that street because it is a no passing street. I did look into that because I was concerned, because for the last couple years, I know that the bus that picks up there had not been using that because they haven't had to, because of they're picking up there, nobody's crossing the street. So everybody was right there, they could pull off and pick up the kids. Because it's a no passing zone, people can't pass the bus, therefore that's why the stop sign now has to come out. That was just recently discovered and relayed to me by the Department of Transportation from Wall Lake Schools. So because of this, I'm asking for no parking signs on Wabasso.
Just a question as far as, is that going to be in effect for Tiki Night?
Again, there's exceptions to every rule.
That's what I was going to say.
But the problem we have is, and people have, there's a lot of room to pull off the roads for the most part. We're going to always make exceptions for Tiki Night. Obviously, that is something on every road that we have. We've made exceptions for Tiki Night. But we do the best we can with what we got, and I think this is going to solve some issues, and hopefully it doesn't create more issues. Yes.
I've noticed more and more people are employing lawn services, more than they've ever had, and they're all over the place. Where would they park?
It's loading, unloading, deliveries, things of that nature were less than 20 minutes. We're not going to enforce that necessarily.
Less than 20 minutes.
Most landscapers are in and out of there in 20 minutes. We are not going to be sticklers for that. If it becomes an issue, we will, but as it stands, no. Deliveries, some people get deliveries of lumber if they're building something. You have to do what you got to do. And we're not looking to be sticklers on this. We're just trying to make the road safe.
I'll make the motion, especially since you mentioned that it's going to be enforced reasonably, because it's always been, it's a tight road, parking, you're half on, half off. So I'm glad you mentioned that. If somebody's parked all the way on the road, that forces a car into oncoming traffic across a no passing line, correct?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Dumont, second by Duff. Any discussion?
Have there been complaints or anything like along the street there?
Yes.
Okay. this, or the residents of that street, kind of, have they pushed this?
Residents of
or-
that street and several other streets, the back in the Schenken, Newport, Paulette, Ventura area.
There's been people that have full-on just blocked the road for
Oh, yeah.
2 hours.
I've driven down there, I've been, every now and then, I've been like, oh, no, not that one.
Okay.
It's not that often now.
As long as the residents and everybody know about it down there.
During the day it is.
Do the residents tend
I
to
go up
park
and down,
themselves parking?
During the day it is. On a weekday.
Well,
If we can open it up for discussion with the residents, we have several residents.
Yeah.
Wait, can I ask a question before we even open it up to the residents?
Yeah, let's go ahead and ask your question, Dave, and then we'll open it up.
As far as you can tell, are many residents parking on that street as everyday parking, say overnight
No.
parking?
Okay. Want to open it to the residents? Go ahead,
just
Bill.
one quick question. So are you saying that if you pull entirely off the road so that none of your tires are on the pavement, that is okay? Okay.
Okay, anybody in the audience want to speak on
I
it?
think there are people that would like to speak on
Okay.
it. I do want to get their input. I don't
Yeah,
want to just
I agree.
rule with an
That's
iron
what I was
fist here.
hoping for.
Motion to open to the public?
Motion by Dumont, second by Duff. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go
Why don't you
ahead.
guys come on up? If you can,
Come on
one
up
at a
and
time.
state your name and
State your
address.
name and your address if you could,
Yeah.
and I'll step aside. I'll stay here then.
You'll be good.
I'm Bill Williams from 146 Robozo. Been in the great city, the village of Wolverine Lake for 30 years. We've never had a parking issue. We do on our property. I can only get 4 cars by driveway and have a large family at Thanksgiving, and so we need the right of way to park cars. We work with the church sometimes in big parties like Super Bowl parties. We'll park over there and shuttle them back and forth. But why the double yellow line? Why isn't there one in Schenken that has blind turns? There's a full site there on Wabasso. What instituted the double yellow line? It's ridiculous. That's the whole problem. That's the whole problem here. I've always wondered, why they put a double yellow line on a residential street?
Well, we've got one in Laguna, too. I mean, same deal. It's a major road, I guess, for whatever reason.
Wolverine Drive has one, so.
Well, they have blind curves there. This is their full straight site. There's just a slight hill.
Yeah.
You can see the roof of the car come. It's never been a problem. People stop, somebody goes by, and then they'll continue. Doing a great job, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Chet Stahersky, I'm 221 Wabasso, about midway in the whole thing. There's always been a no parking on a regular street like that. If it's less than 60 feet, you can't park on the street. But people let off in, out, whatever. That's not the biggest problem we got. We got problems with guys with garbage cans. Those garbage cans are in the street because he can't get nothing on his grass. Shame on him. And he's got big old rocks in there. That's against the law. That's a state law. You can't put rocks that close to a street in front of your house. And if he wanted to be able to park vehicles in the street like he has been, then he should have moved that or made his driveway bigger or park on his grass. Everybody else parks on their grass. So why are we going to get shamed for doing something? You know, I mean, poor guy can't get his grass cut. This guy's only there for 5-10 minutes. A big deal. We've never had any problem anywhere on that street. I've been out here over 20 years. My mother-in-law used to be treasurer here. And it's terrible now that these new people are just coming in and saying, I live here and I'm taking over. Well, they better take my payments too, but you got to do something with the speed. Come on. We've got a whole bunch of kids over there now, the 2 gorgeous kids. Post the speed limit. I know. Can't afford it.
No, that has nothing to do with it. It's a federal law. But I'll address it.
On a residential street, it's always been 25 miles an hour. And I'm sorry for the people if you live in that end or our end of the subs, whatever. We're the poor people, you're the rich people. These people think you can do. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to get myself in trouble. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It is a
tough act to follow. I am very nervous.
Oh, relax.
Not a public speaker. So this is nerves. This is.
It's okay. Name and address, please.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
All right. My name is Lisa Martin. I live at 1831 South Commerce Road. I am at the corner of South Commerce and Wabasso, with soon to be a beautiful garden again. Of the current parking issues, I believe I probably bore the brunt. And I am not for no parking on this road. For Tiki Night, for birthdays, for holidays, we need a little bit extra. Not everybody has the monster driveway like I do. One car. Oh well. But moderation and communication is what we need. What exceptions? I can't think of the right word, but there are people are doing construction, they're doing building, there's a short-term project, there's something. It takes communication. I have a little respect, a little bit of communication, we can get through situations. It's when we take from each other and assume and assert rights and privileges and abuse your neighbors. No. And it won't get better unless we start doing better. We need to talk to each other. We need to ask if you need to use my driveway because yours is. Oh my goodness! I'm so sorry.
You're doing great.
It is extremely frustrating. I don't, I'm going to need an exception someday too. And if we're insist on more laws and more regulations and clamping it down, how do we exist? How do you peaceably enjoy your property? That's all I want to do. I don't want to have stress and concern who's out there, who's watching me, who's taking pictures, who's going to complain at the slightest, smallest little thing. Knock on my door. If something's bothering you about me, knock on my door. I can't fix it. And I certainly don't want a police officer pulling in for, what? Talk to me. So, no, I'm not for no parking. There has to be middle of the road. That being said, I'd like to understand right-of-ways better. I'd like to understand if I'm paying taxes on this property up to some datum point in the middle of the road, what have you, who actually has the right? Nobody has. Please tell me that nobody has the right to use my land as their personal parking lot and driveway. I need to hear this. I need to understand what the recourse is. So
we all need to hear that.
We all need to hear that. I prefer to be polite, but I will stand up. So.
It's why we opened it to the public.
That's why I'm here. This is difficult.
Yeah. Forgive our silence. It's not really a two-way conversation. We're just here to listen.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Robert Mitchum from 136 Wabasso. I've been in the village for about 6 years, and like I said, it's been previously stated, we've not had this problem on this road before. Unfortunately, we've had one person who's kind of what I would consider abusing the system. Once I found out this was going to be at the council meeting today, me and Tanya, we walked the streets, we talked to people, said, hey, do you know this is happening? This is really coming up fast. Why so fast? Why wasn't there more notice? And I understand, you put it out there. Nobody came and talked. I said, has anybody talked to you about this? So we made the point, said, I don't really care what your opinion is, but be aware, voice your opinion, come to the council meeting. Like I said, if this passes, if we put this sign up, it almost makes us feel like second-class citizens in our own village. You can park for your graduation party, your birthday party, and I can't. Where is my overflow parking supposed to go? If you're going to find it a little, I mean, it's great. The church has been very helpful to all of us there. But that's a whole nother city. Do our residents really have to go park in another city to get parking? That's not fair. We just listened to the engineer for the village talk about the exceptions you're making for other places, other parts of the village. Why can't we get an exception of some sort? I'm open to compromise if it provides for the safety of the public. I mean, if we had to put certain time restrictions on it because of, the people going to work and schools getting out, and you want to say this is a no parking area for this time, Monday through Friday, I can live with that. If you want to say for safety issues, 500 or 1,000 feet from the turnoff Commerce should be blocked off as no parking, even all the time. That includes where I live. I'm willing to make that sacrifice to make, my street, the village, a better place to live. But I feel like there's a compromise. I don't feel like, and that was kind of your words about ruling with a steel fist. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to speak, but I don't really feel like that it needs to have that. Because I know he's saying, well, yeah, we'll make a compromise 20, or is it 25? Is it 30 minutes? I mean, my guys that does my lawn can't get in there. I have medical conditions. I'm not allowed to get out there and do the snow removal and do different things. So, I mean, I don't know what a reasonable time is. I feel like 20 is, you say 20 and then somebody's going to take that literally. And the next thing you know, oh, they've been out there 25 minutes, they're calling you up. And sometimes, depending on somebody's day, we're all human. We may make rash decisions or something we wouldn't do on a normal day. But I'd ask you to please consider it. The fact that it's been fine for how many years, and we've unfortunately had one person who we're working with. I mean, unlike some of my neighbors, I go across and talk to the person in question. But a lot of people, they just, because of the way our society has become, they'll just get on the phone and call the police right away because they don't even know the guy's name. They've never walked up there and talked to him. I know, Lisa has talked to him. We've talked to him, and he's a difficult person, but we all are sometimes. But I don't feel like everybody should be punished from one person. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No.
Close to public?
Second.
Motion by Dumont, second by Duff to close. Oh, one more. We got one more.
We're going to do one more.
I'm Jeffrey Doig, 208 Wabasso, and we've lived for 50 years.
50.
Wow, that's a long time. Anyway, never had a problem on Wabasso. Our thinking is what you do on your own property is pretty much your deal, as long as you're out of the street. I've had several instances down the street where I can't get out, and it's in a really bad spot where people coming in off of South Commerce coming around that corner really fast, and you got that road blocked. And if somebody's trying to get around garbage cans or vehicles or ladders sticking out in the street, by the way, that's a hazard. I understand that. But I'm kind of against putting no parking signs on because we don't park there anyway, most of the time. Very rarely do I ever go in the street. I park on my front lawn if I got extra people. So that's it. Just wanted to give them my opinion. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else before we close? Seeing none? Okay, we have a motion by Dumont, second by Duff.
If I can address that.
Yeah, well, let's get close to the public first.
Okay.
Unless there's anybody
sorry.
else that wants to
Yeah,
talk
no.
after that. Okay, so, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, go ahead, Chief.
I would like to ask you to table this for right now and let me look into why there is a double yellow. I think they make some valid points, and I think we probably could limit this maybe to a corner or near the corners to keep traffic from. I mean, it is a clear vision, and you're right. I don't know why it's a no passing, a double yellow in the entire street, other than it is a small street, and if somebody were to try to pass somebody, they're going more than 25, and I know that never happens on Wabasso.
Chief, can we ask Mr. Powell a question real quick?
Sure.
Mike, being a major road, are we required to stripe it that way, being a
We are
major?
not.
Okay.
It is, we do put a dash strip stripe down the middle of major roads. I might suggest that TIA be asked to come out and do a study.
That was going to be my
why
next call.
That happened, that's there.
Okay.
TIA, for those, is the Traffic Improvement Association.
Yeah, and we contract with them in matters of traffic engineering to find out what's safe, what isn't safe, and if we can do certain things. Double-edged sword with TIA also is they're the ones that told us that to comply with the federal mandates, we had to remove all of the speed limit signs in residential areas because they're all 25. Everybody should know that. That's the way everybody is taught. And all those signs did were become a hazard because they're on the road right away.
And we also had to remove a lot of stop signs, too.
We had to also remove 72 stop signs in the village of Wolverine Lake, which was a lot. We had a lot of stop signs that were probably not needed, but they were used for, at the time, to reduce speeds in the neighborhoods. That isn't a proper use for that, so we did have to move those.
Is one smaller than Wabasso? It doesn't look
Yes.
as wide?
Yes. There's a difference between, just a brief if I can, there's a difference between a major road and a local road, and the major roads are main roads that lead into different subdivisions or are throughways, such as Wolverine Drive down to Lucille, Lucille to Ladd, around to McCoy. Those are major roads. Local roads are the village, or they're all village-owned. However, we get different funding from the federal government for these roads to maintain because they operate differently. They're to help through traffic, and Wabasso is to help to get the back neighborhoods. So Wanda is not. Also on that, the road right-of-way is different. It's a 30-foot from the center of the road on Wabasso, because that is the road right-of-way. On Schenken, on Wanda, some of these local roads, it's 20 foot.
So from the middle to the thing is 30 feet?
Correct. That's a long ways.
Like I couldn't build something on that spot?
Correct.
Oh, okay, all right, 30 feet.
Correct.
So do
So-
rocks meet the requirement?
Pardon me?
Do rocks meet the requirement?
No.
I didn't quite hear that, but I wanted to ask a question, maybe you just answered. So that let's say it this way, actually, because many asked about, hey, what is a right-of-way? Do I own it? Do I pay taxes on it? Where does it start? Sounds like a scam. So, is there a way that we can put something together, and no pressure, but Dave, maybe that can make a basic explanation somehow?
We could try to do something like that to show, and Mr. Powell would be a great help in that.
Yeah.
To show the difference between a major road and a local road, as well as the road right-of-way, and what is intended to be used for.
Yes. What can you use it for? What shouldn't it be used for?
Correct.
Should be on your property deed, too.
And
You're right.
you mentioned the reason that we don't put stop signs is because at a federal level they've asked to remove them because it's an additional hazard on the road right of way. Is that correct?
Well, yes and no. You can't institute a stop sign.
Did I say stop sign? I meant speed limit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You can't, for speed limit signs, residential areas, they're all 25. Usually there's one at an entrance maybe, but that's it. There's no more throughout the entire subdivision. Now, they made us go through and take down all these in the subdivisions because everybody knows it's 25. There is no, Wabasso might be an exception. I might throw a stop or a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit sign on there as they enter because, and you're right, they will ignore it, but they, just like everything else. I can also, that way, throw out my speed limit sign that has the lighted things on there. It gives me an opportunity to at least track the speed down on that street. So, you know, if you see one of those lights, like the ones that are in Glengear, the one in Benstein, we have a portable one that we assign in different areas. So, and I think because of our DPW foreman lives on that street, he would be more than happy to throw one up there too, I'm sure. So,
And then on the microphone, I think you answered the question. I haven't been up and down the street, forgive me, but it sounds like there's rocks like on the right of way right now somewhere.
Yes.
So, are the rocks okay to be in the?
No.
They aren't. Why are they not? Why aren't we allowed to put rocks there?
Because that becomes a big traffic hazard. If something were to happen, you can't pull off the side of the road because there is no place to go. Those rocks are equal to but if I allow them to stay there, it becomes my liability and your liability as the village. We don't want that. So we're going to be addressing that, but they were talked about already. So there's a decision
To
coming
make it
down.
clear, I don't even know the home you're speaking of. I am ignorant of it. But I'm just asking in general. I see very few, but I do see rocks there, and I have a couple rocks I don't have a place for. And I was thinking...
No, you can't put them along the road right away.
Okay.
And you live on a local road, so you measure 20 feet from the center of your pavement out, you can put them there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
For reference, these aren't small rocks.
No. Those are big rocks.
I believe you.
I've driven down there.
They'll take your car out.
Generally speaking,
I'm trying to keep it general because I don't want to get in the middle of something that I don't understand on accident.
We'll know where you live.
Yeah, no, come on over if you know where I live. I'm out in the yard a lot.
Well, what about, I've seen other things other than rocks put out at the end of your property to stop people from parking on your grass. And I see that especially happening on our street, July 3rd, with a bunch of American flags being put up to not allow anybody to park in front of their house. They can park in front of our house and everybody else's house. But, you think that they do that because they're patriotic, but that's not the case.
In this situation, because the whole thing is if somebody hits those flags, it's not going to eject somebody from...
Oh, I know that. I know that. But I'm just saying.
I get what you're saying.
Know that you shouldn't be doing that.
Right, and we will try to make a bigger announcement as it comes to Tiki Night especially, but there are people, if you remember, that got those stakes from the village and put them around there. And now they keep putting them back up even though there's no chance of snow. Sorry if it snows now, if there's no chance of snow from here till fall. So, I know, it's gonna.
Is that something, maybe next time we do a newsletter, we could put some kind of wording in there as far as...
Maybe some descriptions. Maybe some descriptions. We can put something together. I'm sure myself, Mr. Powell, we can get together with the administrator and get something, just a simple explanation of
generalities of what the distances are.
Yeah, we're not going to get specific.
Yes, we have strange, we'll call them, areas in the village that
I think
won't
Mr.
line up.
Gillum wanted to speak.
Forgive me.
No, not a problem. No. The only comment I was going to make is, as a general rule, we do not allow objects or items to be placed within the public right-of-way. It's not property that we own, but it's deeded as public right-of-way when the subdivisions, when property is platted out, and we have the right to use that for road purposes. Generally speaking, we will not allow someone to put anything in the right-of-way without some kind of a license agreement from the village that sets forth the terms of what they're placing, where they're placing, when it has to be removed, when we can require it to be removed, things like that. This is a much bigger issue than Wabasso, though, because we have objects in the right-of-way all over the village.
Yes.
And I sympathize with what I'm hearing from the people on Wabasso. I've been over there. I've spent hours over there talking with residents on the street. But it's a much bigger issue, and we're in the process of taking a look at that bigger issue right now. And it's something we're going to have to get some direction from council on at some point in time. Not to get off subject, but I think you're aware that there have been issues with accessory structures in lakefront yards. And we're going to be taking that issue on this summer in the village. That's going to be a huge issue. This is an even bigger issue.
Okay. Well, I guess at this point, you guys want to withdraw your motion?
Yeah, I'll withdraw the motion and table.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, give us a little time to look into this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
It does, it does.
And I appreciate everybody's comments.
We
too.
try to be reasonable, and I hope everybody tries to be reasonable. So,
Thank you.
It's a heck of a nice day out to be in here.
thank you guys for being reasonable. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Is there a second?
Hey, Mark, you want a second motion to table? Did you? Okay. So they withdrew the motion, we're gonna table, so all in favor on that?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, thank you, everybody, on that one. And we move on to Park and Rec Board recommendation to release $1,500 for budgeted funds for the 5K race.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Giormini this time. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Nedrow,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Dumont,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Kiznecki.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
Okay, on to the Water Board. Item 1, recommend, confirm Saturday, June 17th, this time, for the Boater Safety Fair to be held at Claire Miller Park.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont. Any discussion on that? Glad to see that they moved it off the boat launch. Makes more sense. So, with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Also from the Water Board, to hire Progressive A&E to create a website per their quote and include data collection, the interactive map, and 15 hours of map maintenance for a total not to exceed $6,210.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I guess I'm really not clear what the heck the map's gonna do.
I'm not either. I don't quite understand what all that means. Yeah.
I know they were talking about an interactive map going on the website, but it seems like a lot of money to throw on there, and I don't know how many people actually use the website anyways, as far as that goes.
Maybe if I can just give some background on this. This is something that the Water Management Board has been talking about probably for a couple of years, to try to create some kind of an interactive page on the website or an interactive site where a variety of information could be provided by, primarily for the Water Management Board. Lake depths, where fishing is allowed, where fishing is not allowed, things along those lines. Their thinking was that there are other boards or village departments that could also potentially add information to the same overlay map, if you will. We initially tried to develop some specifications for purposes of sending out an RFP. We did have a resident that helped us put some of the specifications together. She, in fact, reached out to the current operator of the village website, and she reported back to me that a lot of the information that's on the village website right now is proprietary, and she was having a difficult time getting information from them, let alone getting authorization to go in and modify the way the website is set up right now. So what eventually was developed was the idea of basically just having a link off the current website to another page where this different information could be layered. So we did send out an RFP to 3 different companies potentially to do the work. One was a no bid. Actually, 2 were no bids. The third was a bid that the Water Board thought was unreasonably low, and they didn't think it was worth pursuing. So the issue sat for a little while, and then one of the no bids had been Progressive AE, which is our lake consultant. And then Progressive AE, they added some staffing, they moved into some different areas, and then they ended up submitting a proposal saying that we do have the staffing that we could create this link off the website, this interactive map, if you will. So that's something that went back to the Water Management Board. Progressive AE came and did a presentation to the board. The board then scaled down the original proposal from Progressive in terms of the quote that we have in front of us tonight is for 15 hours of map maintenance. The original quote was for more hours. I forget if it was 40 or 45 or 60 or something like that. But to try to scale down the cost, the Water Management Board landed on the 15 hours of map maintenance. So that's kind of where we're at. I know Ryan Martini, the chair of the board, was not able to be here tonight. He let me know that yesterday.
Okay.
But those are the types of information that I think the Water Management Board wants to have on the website. Councilman Dumont, he's on the water board. I don't know if you have anything to add to that or not.
Little, unfortunately, because I've been on that board for 2 months now, so 2 meetings, and they've been thinking this up for a lot longer than that.
I know they've been working on it for a while.
I was on that board 7 years ago, I think, Water Management Board, and I'm back now. But, so I don't want to screw up and what I believe they want to use it for. And it's to share the data that they have and also collect and the data themselves. So share with the village the same data that they're using to make their decisions at the water management level with Wolverine Lake, or the world for that matter, on our website. I believe that was the intent, so that everybody has access to lake depths, temperatures,
access points, where the road ends are.
Yeah, and informational points for, again, 2 meetings in 2 months. But informational points around the lake, where like access points and no wake zones could be delineated. Those were the types of things. And then if the Parks and Rec Board, which Mark Giramini is on, wanted to also add in the future items pertaining to their parks or their events even, those items could be also plotted on there. If there was an event that they could spot, you could...
So it's going to be more than just a lake map then? I'm just trying to understand it.
Yeah, I know from maybe seeing a water board meeting a year ago when they were talking about it, the idea was, as he was, in terms of expanding it, it was the idea of, if they said where are the parks, it would highlight where the parks are and what's allowed at this park. Or if you said, I want to go fishing, where can I fish? And all of a sudden the road endings would come up with rules stating you can fish here, but you can't launch your boat from there, kind of thing, so that people would have a better engagement and understanding of where and what they can do within the recreation aspects of the village. But I haven't
well said, Mark.
done this lately.
If I was smarter, I would have said that. That's exactly what they were talking about, is items like that. Yes, it's expandable, though. It isn't locked to just the lakes, and I'm not in IT, so take that with a grain of salt.
I did watch the water board minutes, and it didn't sound like there was a whole lot of hits on the website regarding the lake map and stuff, or lake and stuff, though. I mean, I get on there occasionally, and we'll look at the temperature and the lake level.
I think that's one of the objections. There were 2 water board members that voted against, or didn't vote in favor. And I think one of them, that was his concern, that he didn't think there would be enough traffic to justify the cost.
I believe that's the only negative concern of this map, I'll call it, is the cost. It's like a Lamborghini.
If we go to start adding stuff, I mean, how much more is that going to cost, too? It's not going to be free.
That was my, or if we're only using 15 hours of maintenance and maps.
You're 100% right, yeah.
How much can we update?
Forgive me for thinking that would have been assumed. Nope, so this price, the way I understood it, was to build a minimum version of what the Water Management Board wants, and then anything in addition would be charged by the hour from IT professionals that can program those icons or whatever you chose to add to it. Then that would be...
I don't know. Seems like a big expense.
Just call for the vote. Point of order.
Okay. Any other discussion, I guess, at this point?
The only thing I'd add is if you feel like you want more information, you could table
Yeah.
And then maybe Mr. Martini or someone from Progressive could...
I think I'd like to have a little bit better understanding of how it's going to work, or how much more we're going to have to throw
I'd
into
love
it.
to see an interactive sample
It just seems like a lot of
that's in existence.
a lot of money.
Is there a need for it, period?
Well, that's the other thing.
Would you be willing to pull back and table it?
Sure.
I'll do the same.
Okay. I think that's probably a good idea.
I think that's wise.
I think giving Ryan a chance to be here would be the proper thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not fair for him to be represented. He's been thinking about this for months. And
I know they've been talking about it for a while, but we really don't have a whole lot of information on it, or how it's going to work, or how many hits we've had on the website regarding the map, or the lake, or whatever. So I'd just like to have a little bit more information before we blow $6,000. So with that, we have a motion to...
Technically have to say yes on the vote.
Yes, to table.
That's all my point was.
Yeah, so we want to vote yes to table, correct?
Sure.
Okay. With that, let's have a roll call vote on yes to table, or to table, period.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Dumont.
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
Wozniacki.
Yes.
Knopf.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes. Okay. We're going to get through this yet. Resolution for approving the West Nile Virus Fund expense reimbursement request under Oakland County's West Nile Virus Program. We do this every year.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Dumont.
I noticed it was,
Huh?
it says, the notice says Malik as part of who's present on the document, instead of Kuznicki.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it already had.
That was from
Duff and
last year.
Dumont.
That was from last year.
It already has Duff and Dumont in there, is making the motions and everything, so.
Yeah.
That was last year.
Yeah.
I think what happened is
But
we
the
haven't
dates are
actually received the resolution for this year
Okay.
from Oakland County. So I think the staff upstairs, they just cut and paste from last year.
Yeah, this is filling in for now.
Yeah, because the dates are up to date. but-
Yeah, the date's May
Yep.
10th, 2023.
I think if council can just go ahead and authorize, generally speaking, the expense reimbursement request, then we'll get the appropriate resolution together. Once we get it from the county, we get it chipped off, so.
Okay, so I think we had a motion and a second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries on that one. Okay, next one is to introduce the first reading of ordinance 162, which is for the mixed-use district. This is sent to us by planning, and this is basically to, there's like 8 properties, I believe, up off of Glengarry here, down towards Benstein, that are, that basically the residential properties. There's one office building, and I believe the Glengarry Inn. Glengarry Inn's a commercial use, and they were non-conforming based upon probably a 1998 ordinance change that the village went through, and they changed that to an office district. And actually, there's a bunch of homes that are in that office district. So in our master plan update that planning went through here in the last couple of years, we decided that we were going to master plan for a mixed-use new zoning district to make the Glengarry Inn comply with the zoning, because they couldn't do anything, no upgrades or anything that they could do without complying with the zoning ordinance. So in essence, this is going to be a fix for that district up there, and make everything good, allow the homes to be homes in that district and offices and the Glengarry. So
Move to introduce.
Second.
Is that what you need?
Yep. Motion by Dumont, second by Duff. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we're on to chickens. It's a foul ordinance. So what we're doing is we're forming a subcommittee on chickens and ducks, I guess. Fowl, yeah, because they are not allowed currently. So we decided we're going to make a subcommittee out of 3 council members and 2 residents. And at that point, they will have hold public meetings and discuss the issue and try to figure out if it makes sense to allow those fowl in the village, and if they do, how they're going to handle them. So It's going to be considered a general offense ordinance, so that would be not under planning's jurisdiction to create an ordinance, so our attorney would be fashioning something after we come up with constraints or whatever the subcommittee decides, if we decide to move forward that way. So Duff, Mr. Giormini, and Mr. McNutt that are going to serve for council. So we had, like I said, 12 applicants for 2 spots. And, go ahead.
If I could just make a general comment, I see some familiar faces in the audience. There are some people that have volunteered to be on the committee. Even if you're not chosen to actually be one of the 2 residents on the committee, as President Nedrow has indicated, these are going to be open meetings. You're going to be more than welcome to come to the meetings to comment. The only thing you won't actually be doing will be taking any kind of a vote on the action that's being brought to council. But you will be able to attend, and even if you're not formally on the committee, I would encourage you to attend and put your 2 cents in.
Okay. So I guess trying to figure out which is the best way to put somebody on a board committee, I guess. So I don't know, I suppose we could go around and ask everybody who they'd like to have based upon what we have for information on them, or we can do a vote of hands on each person, I guess. Maybe that would be the way to go. So I'll just read the names off and throw your hand up, and we'll tally the votes at the end. Going first, Taylor Pitchett. 2?
3.
Well, here, Taylor was the one who brought
he's the one that,
that brought it forward, so I think he definitely should be on it.
Yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Sold me.
Christine Nedrow. 1.
You better raise your hand, Brian, because you might not make it home.
Well, I was going to abstain, actually, but I'll throw her on for my vote, I guess. Elizabeth Boyett. Stephen Smith. Jesus Palacios.
There's 2 residents.
Yep.
Can we only vote twice?
More than twice?
I think if you vote twice, if everybody
Probably
votes
if
twice.
Everybody votes twice, they should be done.
Take the total.
Yep. Kayla Johnson.
No, it's mathematically.
Just 1 on Kayla.
If I had,
Michael Miller.
I had 3 on one of the voting.
Patty Ryan. Rob Jankowski. 1. Brian Smearden. Diana Deaton. Jennifer Wright. 3. Who we got a tie? Who voted twice? 3 times. Who are we doing a tiebreaker?
Vote again?
Yeah, 1, 2.
Okay, so
Between the 2.
between Jennifer Wright and Christy Nedrow. So now I'm in trouble.
You abstain on that one.
Well, let's go Christy again. Who's on? 3? Uh-oh.
No offense.
I'm going to abstain now. Jennifer Wright? 3.
Why not both?
Can Mr. Gillen vote by proxy?
What's that?
Mr. Gillen vote by proxy?
Well, I know both of them had a lot of information. I know Christy's been a... Taylor?
We just had a 3rd person? Don't vote then?
That's what
I suppose we could.
Or an alternate?
That would be
Let's do an alternate.
That would be a 6-person.
Yeah, you don't want to have
It'd be a 6-person board, so that's why we're trying to keep...
Do an alternate.
We could add 2 more, was my suggestion, but I don't want to make this any messier than...
Yeah.
Let's not add.
Or 4 more.
Just do an alternate.
Do an alternate.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Does everybody agree with an alternate?
I think it'd be fine.
I don't know how you do that, though. How would you vote?
Well,
if somebody's not there?
The alternate wouldn't vote unless somebody wasn't there.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's really not, it's just putting information together, really.
Yeah.
You as council vote.
Whoever's not going to be on the board can always come to the meeting and have a lot of interaction. I mean, I
But, yeah,
imagine.
but an alternate would probably be fine, because they can sit there and have a little bit more discussion.
Be on the board, I guess.
With the board,
They just can't
and a
vote.
little more input.
Just wouldn't be able to vote.
That comes, yeah, unless when it came to voting, if somebody was absent, then they
Okay.
would vote. Just kind of like how they do it on
Because that
PTA.
keeps the odd number, if somebody's out, then you got even, so.
Yeah.
Alternate's good.
Okay, what was that?
The enthusiasm based on how many folks came for this, I just thinking outside, I know that Brian mentioned this, but strongly consider that you're welcome to attend every one of these meetings. They're all public, they're all posted, there's a time and date, and you'll be able to speak at them as well. There'll be a time when it opens up, and I also have a feeling that the board won't be structured that tightly, so you'll be able to say what you want to say.
Well,
I wish it was this kind of turnout for all the boards.
What's that?
I wish it was this kind of interest for all the boards.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I may have hinted to people that there was going to be an outlet station at the... Inspired some applications.
Oh, boy. That was a pretty bad yoke. Okay. Well, with that, I think we have consensus to have 2 permanent and 1 alternate then. So that be the case. I guess that would be Taylor's on. And then, no, how do we arrive at an alternate?
What was the second, second vote was a tie?
Yeah.
I'll be an alternate.
Okay.
if that-
Fair enough.
I mean, that's fine.
So Taylor and Jennifer Wright, and then Christy Nedrow will be an alternate. And then we need a chair. Mark, want a chair? So,
Or do you want the subcommittee to pick their own chair?
Or I suppose I could do that too.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay. And then we'll figure out when, I guess, when they're going to meet and get things rolling.
Yep.
Okay. I guess we probably need a motion for that.
Motion.
Motion by Duff. Second by Dumont. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're past that. So now we're post F, which is our Airbnb discussion. Airbnb. And hey, Dave, you could fill me in a little bit or fill us in. I mean, we got the email and there's residents here concerning that, so.
Well, one of the residents on Marchart contacted me, and I met with her, actually. It was with Ms. Krells, who spoke earlier.
Yep, that's right.
My suggestion to her was that she actually draft some kind of a letter for the neighborhood to show that this was a neighborhood issue and not just her issue, and bring it forward to council to generate some discussion here at the council table. We, generally speaking, do not have any ordinance that really regulates short-term rentals in the village. We have a home occupation ordinance under the zoning ordinance, which arguably may or may not apply. I haven't really talked with the village attorney a lot about that, but those are the only arguable restrictions that we have on the books right now.
I know a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, planning was looking at a rental ordinance, and we found out that, I mean, with the exception of the apartments, there's like 6 sets of apartments. I mean, I know there's people renting out their homes, but there really wasn't that much of a issue for it at that point, so we didn't draft anything up at that point. So.
From what I've been able to tell just by poking around on the internet after I met with Ms. Corellis, there are maybe anywhere between 6 and 10 short-term rentals in the village right now. And my staff tells me that we get calls regularly. In fact, I got an email from a resident over on, I think it was over on Lucille, indicating that he had a long-term rental that was about to become vacant, and he was considering moving from a long-term rental into a short-term rental because he could probably make more money by doing that we wanted to see what restrictions or regulations the village had in place. So I think it's only something that's going to pick up. It's not going to decrease. So, in terms of the type of regulations, I mean, I found some information online from the National League of Cities about rental regulations, and it really depends upon how far you want to go, how deep of a dive you want to take. I mean, as you indicated, there was discussion here in the village a few years ago about licensing all rentals, both long-term and short-term. And that would include apartments.
There's also been a lot of discussion up in Lansing regarding short-term rentals recently, too, so.
Well, this is a hot-button issue in a lot of resort communities up north. And in fact, to the extent that the travel and tourism lobby got very actively involved, and there was actually legislation that was introduced in Lansing that would have preempted the issue, that is, would have made it so that local communities cannot regulate short-term rentals, that any regulations would have to be on a statewide basis. Now, that legislation has died. It hasn't gone any further. Some of what I've read said communities should be careful because if they go too far, then that issue is going to come back up again. But that's really speculation and educated guess. But it really depends upon how big of an issue and how deep of a dive, if any, we think that the village wants to take into rental registrations and inspections.
Right now, as far as rentals go, how many are registered in Wolverine Lake? How many of them have to register? How many are? None.
There isn't any. They don't have to register.
No. Yeah.
Nothing's required, so.
What would be the disadvantage of asking for a registration?
Someone's going to have to be responsible for enforcing the registration. Typically, the registration, at least in my experience, is going to involve some kind of property inspection. So you're going to either have to have the building inspector or someone else going out and inspecting the properties on a regular basis, whether it's annually or biannually or something like that. And then enforcement. If people aren't registering, or if they're not getting their license, or if they're not complying with any ordinances that you have in place after they've gotten their licenses.
Really, the only recourse I have over right now on Marchar is to call the police, right? I mean,
For what? There's no law being broken.
Yeah.
for disturbance or something like that.
Disturbance, for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, if that's the case.
Disturbances, or can I speak from here, or do you?
Yeah.
Make a motion to open.
They park, like the winter parking, they don't follow that. Parking in front of a fire hydrant.
For minutes, though, I'm going to need her to say her
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
Speak your name.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Don't apologize, you're right.
Kathy Corrales, 2533 Marshar. So there have been noise issues in February. One of the neighbors told me that the music was so loud, and it was 11 degrees outside. There was a fire going in the fire pit outdoors and music blaring. So they did call the police, and the police did come, and the music stopped. But there are strange dogs there, up to 3 dogs at a time, and up to 6 people. It's a 900-square-foot house, a tiny lot. So it's disruptive, the noise of the dogs. We don't want to bother police. The owner isn't on site, so you can't even say to the owner, can you control the dogs that your customers have brought? So we don't have much recourse. And again, she, did not that she needed our permission, but we didn't know what was going on until I reached out to her in Chicago and said, there are a bunch of strange people coming in and out of your house. And that's when she told me that she was an Airbnb. And nor has she, in the 8 months that this has been going on, ever reached out to any of us to say, hey, any problems, anything going on? And she just said, oh, they're good people. I go, well, how are they checked out? I mean, I don't think there are background checks done on these people that are coming in and out of the house. They come in at all hours. Many of the people in the neighborhood have said, there's got to be something illegal going on there, the traffic in the middle of the night. And I'm not saying that's true. It's just that as we experience it more and more, we're starting to tell ourselves stories, but for sure, none of us feel as safe and secure as we used to in our sleepy little village and our quiet little street. It's no longer, the whole character of the street is changing. And so while the neighbor said to me, I checked with the village, well, we can't ban them, that to regulate them. My concern is the size of that home, the number of people and pets that are there. I mean, I'd like to confirm that type of occupancy there's one bathroom that 6 people are sharing, and when the owner is home, she sleeps in her basement, but I'm not sure there's an egress window, and then I find myself worrying about if there was a fire, she would be trapped down there, but I don't, she doesn't seem worried. At least if we had some type of ordinance that regulated these, there would be perhaps maybe one initial inspection to make sure that she does have an egress window if she is sleeping in the basement, and that home was big enough to accommodate all those people, that the yard was big enough to accommodate all those dogs. And then things like the fire pit, they'll start a fire and then they'll leave. And then I became aware, because she's involved with the sod that just was placed, and I keep telling her, you need to water every day, and she's still not watering, and she finally told me Monday, well, I don't know how to turn on the outside water, so I'm thinking, well, they didn't even have water, and there's fires going, and so I'm worried. We worry. It's a neighborhood where we all know each other, care about each other, and we take great pride in our property, and we worry about property values. I worry about someday if I want to move and somebody knows what's going on, who's going to want to live next door? Right. Trust me, if you experienced it, if you live next door to one, you would understand. It's not like having a neighbor or even someone
I think you've done a good job of explaining that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, do you have any idea, like, when you say short-term, what does short-term mean? Is it,
well,
because when I think of Airbnbs, I think of vacation.
Weekend.
A weekend, or a week at the most. Or a month at the most.
So they're coming like maybe 1 day, 2 days, so it's like every day potentially you could have 6 different new people. So it's just the transient nature of the people are coming and going.
So it is that often? I mean, it's not
it is,
like
yes. And, on Sunday when I came home, all of her guests were parked in front of neighbors' homes because she now has a fire hydrant. And I had one in front of my house, but the neighbor on the other side had like 3 cars in front of her house. Well, I was trying to water my sod. So, sometimes you don't mind people parking, but it's kind of a regular, because it's a business. It's not like you have company. If you're having guests that are checking in every day, then you've got this traffic. You've got a traffic issue. You've got a parking issue.
It's not a residential neighborhood like it was.
No.
We're a single-family community that all of a sudden doesn't feel so much like that. So.
Yep, I understand. It's like living next to a motel.
I think all of Wolverine Lake understands.
It does feel that way. Yes. Yeah.
Well, maybe the best thing to do would be to look into it, I guess.
I think so.
Can we look into?
Well, because Marcia, are you even on the lake?
No.
Can you imagine what could happen on the lake? I mean, really?
There are a couple of houses that are on the lake that are
Airbnbs?
On the island, right, on Oak Island, I think there are.
The ones that I saw, one was on the other side of the lake for me, and then, but there was a couple, there was a handful, like David said.
There used to be 3, but I know, as Mr. Gillum said, there's now they're kind of like multiplying.
Yeah. Well, I think when you have somebody short-term like that, too, there is a tendency, in vacation mode, you're up later, you're partying, there's a lot more adult beverages consumed. I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's not like being at home.
Right. And I mean, that does go on. I know that marijuana is legal, but, there is that strong odor, and she keeps telling me there's no partying allowed, and but she's not there. And really, how realistic is it to think if I went somewhere for a little vacation, you would,
Chief? If I can address a couple of things you said. don't ever feel like you're bothering us. Okay,
well-
call us. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
If we're busy, we'll get to you as soon as we can, but never hesitate to call us if there's any inkling of something's going on. We make our presence known. It's easy for us just to even drive down our own driveway and look in the backyard.
Yeah.
So it's not an inconvenience whatsoever. So
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
the music, same thing,
And when the neighbor called, she said they responded. It was
as we should.
within like 5 or 10 minutes, and then the music, I
Okay.
heard the music, and it kept getting louder and louder.
Well, as the summer comes along too, that might.
Right, that's,
Yeah,
we
so-
haven't even experienced
Yeah, no.
summer yet.
Make sure you give us a call if it
We will.
starts. We'll
Okay.
put it into it, and hopefully we can reach out to the owner and let them know what's going on, so they're aware of it as well.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Thank you.
In the meantime, council feel we need to look into it anyways?
Yeah, what does it take for us to move forward right now with a way to at least start with registrations for rentals so that you...
We'd have to adopt an ordinance, Dave.
Okay, we can do that.
Well, I think maybe a study on that, because do you want to do a rental registration, a residential rental registration ordinance where all rentals are subject to that, or are you just focused on short-term rentals?
Right.
So, and why, and how are you justifying that? And
Sure.
how do you want to set it up? Do you want to do annual inspections, biannual inspections? I have a few other communities that have residential rental registration ordinances for all rentals, and they've
Perfect.
recently applied them to short-term rentals. They weren't really on the radar, the short-term rentals. They were targeting like their apartment complexes, what were obviously the rentals. But then as the VRBO and the Airbnb has proliferated and getting more, it's really complaint-driven, most of the time. So they've
Can we kind
gone
of
and-
poach what they've got already drafted or in place
Oh, yeah.
even and modify it?
Yes.
That's what lawyers do. But
He said that.
if I can, I really do think a rental ordinance for the Village of Wolverine Lake would be a great idea. I come into some of these places, and some of these places, I swear, we wipe our feet when we get outside because they're horrible. And there's nothing really we can do. We call protective services if they have children there. Most of them are adults, and they do this to themselves. And there's no repercussion for us. There's nowhere for us to go. But probably 15 years ago, I took the fire inspector as well as our building inspector and went through a particular, and we shut down 8 out of the 10 units because they were unsafe, they were unhealthy. They had to come up, and if you remember, we made them get a new roof. We had to do different things to bring them up to code because, and it's now getting that way again. There are several of them that way. So I think a rental ordinance would really help us out. And we could, as we respond to things, we see things. Believe me, you don't want to see the things we have to see, but we would be able to recommend our building person to enforce that.
And I'm not necessarily disagreeing with what the chief just said, but if we're going to go through that process, or as we go through that process, I really think we need to involve the owners of the rental properties in the village in that process.
Yeah.
Because basically, if we try to ram something down their throats, it could be a long, nasty battle. So.
I agree with that.
It's like earlier, when it's about communication and talking to people and making sure they're engaged with it.
Yep, definitely.
And there's no two anything alike in this village. That's the problem with writing these ordinances, and I'm sure that's what you were alluding to, because every one of those owners is going to have a different reason for what they want.
Well, there's different types of rentals. I mean, so
Right.
might
so-
handle things differently.
And some are maintained better than others.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
So really, the rental ordinances, the general rental ordinances will address things like parking and noise, nuisance kind of stuff, and signage. And
Egress was one thing
things of
brought
that
up.
nature. But what the inspections will do is make sure that they're compliant with the building code, which
Right.
would be egress in the lower level. You can't have any kind of living in the lower level without proper, so the code official or some communities hire like third parties to do their inspections and their enforcement up to the point of needing to issue citations, just because of short staff or, resources. But it's really to make sure that they're safe, that they're habitable, and they're largely complaint-driven, too, when there is a problem.
Yes, I won't call them complaints, information that we heard, something that sounded like there's a lot of concern for safety. And then
I can understand the frustration on it, too.
Absolutely. And then that gives the officers a tool to enforce it, right? Okay.
We just passed an ordinance similar to that in White Lake, and it really came down to some fairly fine points, because the definition of rentals, we had to decide if parents are living in with their kids and paying some of the rent, that's a rental. So now a regular home where parents are helping to pay, that's a income-producing rental. Or kids living at home because they haven't moved out yet, they're paying their parents' rental, that's a rental income. And so you might be dealing with things like that if you open that as well.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think it'd probably be prudent to look into it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
Do you need any formal direction from us?
I mean, I think that together we can just put together some information and maybe a packet go out to council to review.
To start with, yeah. And, it might affect the apartments too, that we have, right? I mean, depending, so, we probably want to, like Dave said,
I mean, I would
get there
encourage you to
reach out.
look at all rentals.
Yep, short-term, long-term, and...
Especially if, as the chief is saying, there's...
Right, yep. Okay.
Going on.
I think we have consensus on that, too. So. Okay, enough said, I guess. We're at the second call. G. Cooperation agreement for participation in community development block grant funds, CDBG funds, for 24 through 26.
So moved.
That was a motion by Dumont, second by Duff. And I don't think we have to do anything else on this, do we, Dave?
No.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Duff?
Yes.
Dumont?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
Kuznicki?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay, we're finally at the second call to the public. We're still early, believe it or not. But we're way late from what you usually are, so anybody who wants to speak the second call, please state your name, address.
Maria McKendrick, 523 Laguna. I'm new to the community. I've met the chief, his sergeant, and I am respectfully asking the council to take into consideration getting an EV charger here on municipal property. So, yeah. Oh, and I like that smile coming from our city engineer. So just this morning, CBS News discussing the future of wireless EV. I can link the board if you'd like. I am an early adopter. I do drive an electric truck. I am biased because of it, but Sergeant how do I pronounce it? Morosco. He actually took a tour of my truck on Christmas Eve over at
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, so it is the future, and I do help in terms of networking and connecting and knowing the EV community and some decision makers around here. I would respectfully say, hey, can we earmark and maybe even consider the community block grant funds? We know there's a lot of money coming down the pipe from federal and state also. To supplement these things, and I am willing if you would put it on the agenda and do a subcommittee to be one to serve and do a lot of legwork and homework to make the job perfunctory and go forward and capture new EV ways to charge vehicles and transportation.
Okay. I think we've been getting some information from DTE too on that, haven't we? A little bit.
Not real recently.
Okay, but I've seen some emails.
I don't know if Mike feels like talking, but, okay.
No.
Okay. Good. Yep.
Okay. Well,
I would just add, it's my preference, so let's put it out there right from the get-go, that right where we have that safe spot to trade, if you're doing eBay or if you're trading and have that safe spot, there's a lot of empty parking spaces there. I think that would be a really nice spot to put an EV charger. And
Talking one?
Well, if we can get grants and funding for more, why, let's start there. One puts us on the map, and when I say put us on the map, because we are the access to Proud Lake, for the boat the boat launch is part of the annex to Proud Lake. There is a program with a nonprofit that is designed specifically for this, and the first one came in last year at Holland State Park. There's one near Saginaw, and there's one in Traverse City. So if we were to put one there, we get on the state, we get on the state map for state parks. So that, and probably could find some funding to go along with it. Try, can't promise, but I would give my best effort.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Rita, could you send me an email when you've got a
Yeah,
chance, with your
should you give me a
contact
card or
information? Either that or write out your contact information. and
Yeah, I got a card.
Just drop it off, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else for second call? Seeing none, we'll set the topics for the May 24th work session, which is going to be our budget session.
I won't be here.
You can email your thoughts.
There you go.
Everybody else going to be here? We've got our budget in front of us, so proposed. So please take some time between now and May 24th to look at it. That'll be at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, unless we want to start earlier, if people can, or 7 o'clock would be the normal, so.
Only 7 o'clock?
Earlier.
Whatever we decide.
Earlier is my vote, if there's anybody else willing to start earlier, but if everybody's got jobs and stuff.
Flexible.
Everybody else does have jobs.
Imagine that.
But I don't know. Huh?
The nerve to have a job.
Yeah.
I'm healing.
The earliest I can make it would probably be like 6:30 because
Yeah.
I don't get home till...
I know you're running tight. I might be running tight that week too, so.
Just a suggestion.
Well, let's just leave it at 7.
Leave it at 7 then.
That's what everybody's used to. Let's leave it.
Yeah, again, because I don't have a job, I can stay up till 3 in the morning.
Okay. So we're all set on that, I think. Pending business, I don't believe we have any, do we?
Nothing else. No, we've covered a lot of ground tonight, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Update from Police Chief Ellsworth.
Thank you for allowing me some time to recognize Officer Keller. It's well-deserved, and I appreciate that. And it's National Police Week starting this week, so thank you to all those officers that served. And I apologize for the probably premature request for the no parking signs. I just wasn't sure which way we were going to go on that. But I had to have that ready, and if it was adopted, obviously it would take almost immediate effect. So let's look into that and see what we can come up with and educate, and hopefully we can eliminate having that need in the future.
Okay. That's it? That's it. Short and sweet. Treasurer Hanson.
Well, first of all, I would just like to say congratulations to Officer Keller. That's awesome. She did an amazing job. In front of you, I've got a proposed budget, and there's a summary sheet on the first page that, with the top section being the revenues and the section below being the expenditures. There's some of the things I'd like to point out to you that you might want to look into before our meeting is we have some pretty big ticket items on our capital outlay, and that is going to, we're looking at possibly requesting some DPW equipment. So
How far
One
down?
is-
What page is yours?
Page is 7 of 15. So our current excavator, it is about 25 years old, so Andy is looking at getting pricing on a new excavator, or the new, it's not a dump truck. Backhoe, thank you.
Backhoe.
And then he's also looking at a new tractor to replace the John Deere that we have. And he's going to be coming to you with information for a new roof, possibly for the DPW garage, which is also, he feels like there may be 5 more years in it, but he's having somebody come and look at it, and he's going to have information on all of these big items for you. So just to give you an idea of how those numbers break out. So that's it. If anybody has questions in the next 2 weeks, please feel free to call me, and I'll answer all the questions I can.
Great. Thank you. And you learned a lot, I'm sure.
I did.
Last week, 2 weeks ago, I guess it was. Great. Mr. Gillum.
Just to follow up on Jennifer's comments, if it seems like Andy Stone is maybe being a little bit greedy, blame me, because I told him now's the time to make the ask. We spent a big chunk of our federal ARPA money last year on the police department, and I think the chief is comfortable with where they're at right now in terms of what they need to do their job on a daily basis. So I told Andy now's the time for him to go ahead and make his ask. So, and he's done that. So again, we'll have him here in a couple weeks, and he can provide more information. We can hash through it. And if there are some things that aren't realistic right now, then I would at least like maybe to put a plan in place where we can start putting some money away every year. And then when we have enough money, we can actually go ahead and make those purchases. Because it's equipment that we need. It's just a question of when we get it. So, hopefully everybody was aware that unfortunately the Michigan Recycling Coalition, which is the group that is recycling our shrink wrap from our boats this year, that they canceled the pickup that was scheduled for last weekend. We apologize for any inconvenience. I know there were a couple people that came in and read the notice on the side of the door and made a bad face and then walked away. And there were a couple people that still dropped off their shrink wrap here anyway over the weekend. We will go ahead and hold the stuff that was dropped off because we are still hopeful that they will follow through on the next scheduled date, which is Saturday the 20th. And if for some reason they can't, then we'll maybe look at alternatives. I've got some in my garage at home. I don't want people to have to be looking at it all summer long, but again, hopefully they'll be able to follow through on the date of the 20th that they had offered before, and then maybe even a date after that in early June. But we'll keep everybody posted. So, those of you that live or travel on the west side of the village along Benstein Road, if it seems like the water main construction has been going on for a long time, it's because it has. It started in January, and it was supposed to be roughly a 16-week project, according to Commerce Township and their engineers. Obviously, the project is still going on. I had a completely unrelated meeting last week with Larry Gray, the Commerce Township supervisor, and I said, "Hey, Larry, what's the story over there?" Larry indicated to me that they're having a problem. They're doing directional boring for the pipes, but the boring that they're doing underneath the lake bed, the borings are the tunnels they're digging are actually collapsing. So they were having to bring in heavier duty equipment, I think he said from the west side of the state, to be able to actually make borings that were going to hold up so they could get the work done. They're still plugging away, but the problem was because of those problems, they're moving at maybe like 20% of the daily rate that they were supposed to be moving at. So he's aware that it's a problem. They're doing everything they can. So again, we appreciate everybody's patience, and they'll get the work done as quickly as they can. In the long run, it is going to be a good thing for the village. So we've just kind of bear with it for right now. I've had some, well, if you remember last fall, we announced that our late treasurer, Mike Kondak, that he was going to be added to the Cottrell Memorial outside for meritorious service to the village. We haven't forgotten about that. I had some conversation this week with his wife, Diane, and when we schedule the dedication of the memorial with Mike's name on it and the unveiling and things like that, I wanted to see if Diane was going to be able to be here. And when I talked to her, she's very interested in coming. In fact, their daughter, who lives out on the West Coast, recently got married. She and her husband, the daughter's husband, are actually going to be here in Michigan in late July. So I'm going to follow up with Diane again, but we're going to try to schedule the rededication of the Cottrell Memorial for late July, when Diane and her daughter and the daughter's husband can all be here at the same time. So, again, we'll keep everybody posted on that, and when we have a tentative date, we'll let everybody know, so hopefully you can save the date. That's basically all I've got. Just a reminder, we do have an administrative committee meeting after this meeting is over tonight. So, and again, we've had a lot of residents here tonight, the most residents I think that we've had during the period of time that I've been the village administrator. We appreciate everybody coming out. We appreciate your input. So, thank you.
Thank you. Council comments. Let's go to Jeremy, I guess.
Thank you to Officer Keller for what she did there, and she's just another example of the great officers that we have here in the village that we're very fortunate to have. And then also just like to let everybody know, again, starting May 18th will be the village garage sale. Still time to sign up and get on the list. May 27th is going to be the second annual 5K. Still time to sign up for that. And then on June 10th is the Consider Golf Outing and Dinner, the big fundraiser for the village fireworks. And you can go to www.unupcef.org to get tickets there. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. McNutt.
Congratulations to Officer Keller and your team. They're fantastic. Safe Memorial Day.
Thank you. Bill?
Yep, I agree. Congratulations to Officer Keller, and good job with your department. I'm sure you're very proud. And I hope everyone has a healthy and safe few weeks till we meet again. Well, 2 weeks.
Dave?
Well, last May 2nd, I got a chance to go for a boat ride. I don't live on the lake. I think some of you guys are suggesting that some of us are wealthy, and I'm a plumber. I have a humble home, and I enjoy it. I try to do the best I can with it. But I got a chance to get on the lake with Progressive A&E. Progressive A&E is a company that we contract with annually to look over our lake effectively. They aren't the ones that would put out the treatment. They would suggest what treatments and then come back later and see if those treatments had been put down or if more had put down or had been put down or less or put down in the wrong areas, among other things. And so I got a chance to go around the perimeter of the lake and point out spots that when you guys come to the meeting, I mean this positively, believe me, and you say, hey, we've got algae over here. I remember some of those spots I was out there, and I said, hey, do you mind if I mention that I know this is a bad algae area here? Can you make a special note? And I said, yeah, we can make a special note. And we did. And so as we were going around, I try to remember every spot, but it's tough because I don't live on the lake. But, among other things, well, one thing, there's very few weeds right now. So that's a big part of it. Not much to look at yet.
Won't take long.
Yeah. No, we were going about 60. But I was grateful to have the opportunity to go out with Progressive A&E and do that. And it's I got a chance to get on and as a complete amateur and with two scientists who walked me through what it takes to manage the lake humbly. And it is something. It took a couple hours for them to explain the basics. So it's impressive. Forgive me.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Duff.
Congratulations to Officer Keller and your team, and everybody have a safe Memorial Day.
Pam?
Last but not least, again, I agree with everybody. Officer Keller, what an outstanding person, and what it says about the people that you've hired, Chief Ellsworth. And I'm so proud to be part of this village. I really am. And I'm so proud of all you guys coming out tonight. And I agree with what David said earlier in what President Nedrow has said. We welcome your comments, and we really want to try to help. I mean, we're not going to just blow you off. I mean, I am shocked at the response on this chicken and fowl. I am just shocked. I mean, Terry's gone now, but oh my goodness, I mean, he has written letters. I mean, I'm just shocked at how many people really want to get involved in it. So there are a lot of committees here at the village. Please feel free to try to help them or become involved in the village, because many hands make the work less. Congratulations, Mr. Newman. We welcome you, and we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
Okay. The only thing I've got, I guess, is I ditto on the chief and his department and Officer Keller. And it was outstanding what she did. It's just a testament to his leadership, John's leadership. Let's see, I guess, and the other thing I guess I want to say is for the people that are here tonight, you can watch us on every month on our YouTube live channel. Just sign in at the village website, and you can watch it it doesn't have to be during the meeting. You can watch it the next day or anytime, so keeps you informed on what's going on. And with that,
motion to adjourn.
one more.
Let me jump in, not that I have to have the last word, of course.
Go for it.
Just some of the comments reminded me, we have gotten a couple emails or calls from folks about algae starting to form again on the lake. Aqua Weed, which is the company that actually comes out and does the treatments, was out today doing some treatment for weeds, but just in some isolated areas of the lake. But we have let them know that the algae seems to be coming back. I ran home to grab a quick bite to eat before my dinner, before the meeting tonight, and I can see it starting to form over by me in the northeast corner of the lake. And I'm sure if it's there, it's going to be everywhere else. So we have let the treatment company know. There are some additional restrictions this year on how frequently they can come out and treat with copper sulfate, which is the most effective way to treat algae. So there are some limits as to what they can do. They may be trying some different things this year, but we have let them know that the problem is coming back again, and I'm sure they'll take care of it as quickly as they can.
And a lot of that's caused by the heat too, so
Yes.
once the warmer weather starts, it kicks off the algae blooms because of the nutrients in the water. And until those nutrients are used up, you're going to get algae. So
Yeah. The water temperature is rising.
Yep. It just takes, it's a natural occurring thing. Just got to work through it and have green water for a little while and it'll clear out, so.
The next snow will take care of it.
Yeah, next snow will take care of it, yeah. Okay, with that, I heard a motion by Duff to adjourn.
Second.
Second by Jeremy, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Good night.